Ante todo, gracias a la...
First of all, I would like to thank the organizers for inviting me to be here and before the closing ceremony. I'm going to speak... Well, I've seen many young people here that are started in cybersecurity. The summary of my CV basically shows that I'm old and I have done lots of things. I talked about this with Eduardo before. In Cybercamp, we speak about cybersecurity. But in cybersecurity, if we want to get far in this world, I could have taken a console, and perhaps many people are watching us from home, and perhaps many young people would have stayed. But those of you who have stayed should have stayed in order to know that cybersecurity has a big human factor, and thanks to that human factor we usually forget about, thanks to that, now, when we are 16, 17, 18 years old, our technical skills are highly valued, but at some point in life, besides our technical skills, we're going to be valued due to what we can offer as human beings. And how we can get will depend on what we offer and what we are as human beings. In cybersecurity, the technical side and the human side are hand in hand. Go hand in hand. This talk is not technical, it's very personal. Please allow me for a few minutes. I'll give you some piece of advice. Because I'm old, not because I'm very smart. Because in life there's something that always works, and I'll explain that later. I always say that you can do everything with a lot of effort. You may be very intelligent, you may win many CTFs, you may be able to hack many devices, you may create the best tools, but if your human side does not work, at some point you'll stay behind and you will not fulfill your dreams. Because there's a reason for everything in life. I've already been introduced, I don't want to bore you. If you take a look at this letter, this was my book. I don't want to sell it. It was published on the 21st of June 2018. This letter was sent by me to a publishing house called Tim & Mas, which belongs to Planeta, dated on in 1992, 26 years ago, and I was telling them there, I sent them a poem. I was 15 and sent them a poem. I guess there was someone there. The secretary said, "Thank you very much for your poem. It's very beautiful. Who knows whether perhaps it will be published by us. Best regards, Marta Roulet." Keep on writing. 26 years later, I published my first book with Planeta. What do I mean with all this? What's there between that 15-year-old girl that dreamed of being a writer and 20 years later she publishes a book with that? Does that mean that I was the best writer in the world? No, I just had a dream and I worked very hard to fulfill it, to make it real. Effort. Effort without control is worthless. Perhaps you're very eager, and I've done that. You want to do lots of things, but if you don't plan, if you don't have a strategy, if you get stressed, in the end, you'll fail. I remember back then when I was 16, I used to study, I was at high school. We had a vocational coach. We talked to her and we said, I don't know what to do with my life. Now you can Google it, and Google suggests things. But in the past, we had no internet, we had no Google. So when you were lost, when you didn't know what to do, you were sent to the coach. And they asked you, what do you want to do in life? And I told her, well, I don't know what to do with my life. And she said, well, you are 16, you should know, because in 1 year, you are going to choose your studies. So instead of orientating you, you were disoriented. There were no tutorials on YouTube explaining things. There was nothing. Just a professional that was supposed to orient you, and he didn't. I speak for languages. Back then I spoke Spanish, English, French, Latin, and Greek. I said, "Teacher, I don't know what to do with my life. I want to study classical languages." And she looked at me, "Yes, you're very good at languages. You write very good. You speak very well, but you're going to die of starvation. You won't make a living out of it." But our parents, even though we had good marks, my mother always said she doesn't want to study. She's lazy. But I was very curious. And on the other side, I also had a brother who was an aeronautical engineer. He studied for 8 years to get his degree at university, 8 years to know how automatic pilot works. I saw him every night at 3 a.m. studying, and I was coming back from partying. The next morning, he was studying. And I said, okay, being an engineer, I'm not going to spend 8 years like that. 8 years for what? I said, I don't want this. So I started to try some things with computing. There were no YouTube tutorials. There was nothing to start with. How to have your own computer, your own CPU, how to dismantle a CPU. I bought this book. I dismantled his PC. I put it back together and it didn't work. I left it there and left. That was my first contact with the IT world. I destroyed my brother's engineer, the poor engineer that studied for 8 years. So these two things in combination, I said, well, science is not for me. And I said, I'm going to publish this in social media. But there was no WhatsApp, there were no social media. What do I do with my life? And you feel really bad when you don't know what to do with your life. I was 19. One person, a lady, told me that languages was not a good idea. My brother, he's been studying for 8 years. He doesn't know whether he's going to have a job or not. What do I do? There's no Google, no WhatsApp. I cannot publish this in social media. What do I do? I didn't know what to do with my life. What do I do? So I joined the military, something logic. What do? You do the military service. 5 years, in which I had a hard time, but it was very useful to have discipline and to think, to go to the thinking corner. 5 years, you're receiving, they're hitting you everywhere, so you think about lots of things. I was in the military for 5 years, that's why when I left, I'm an expert in tying knots. I was going to become a policewoman, and I learned how to tie a knot. What did I do? I ended up in the police force. I didn't plan anything, and being a military woman, I realized that I like helping people, and that's why I ended up in the police force. And I discovered a new world. A world that fulfills me, where you risk your life, where you give. You help other people, and I've been very happy. This is an advice I can give you to tell you that you should never miss an opportunity. Don't listen to people that tell you this isn't right for you. There are no professional exits here. Many people do this, that. Do what you like doing. Do whatever you like doing. I'm the only police woman, the only member of the police forces in my life. I didn't care. I wanted to do that. And I learned a lot. And where did I end up? In the unit of technological investigation, and I discovered my vocation. Is my vocation being a policewoman? I don't know. My vocation is cybersecurity. Ladies and gentlemen, cybersecurity. I was 25 years old. I arrived to this unit, and back then there were social media. Facebook existed, and I discovered that cybersecurity was my real vocation. You don't need to be a hacker aged 14. Many of you're hackers today, and perhaps in 5-10 years' time, you're electricians. You never know. You never know. Here I discovered my true vocation, and after that, what happened? When I joined the police force, I saw that in order to carry out my own investigations, to have more responsibilities, to continue growing, I had to study and become a detective. I do it like everyone. I took an examination. I combined my job and my personal life, or my not so personal life, because I remember my brother studying for 8 years. Well, I studied for 12, and I used to laugh at my brother, poor guy. And I realized over the years I was studying to become a detective, it was a hard time for me. I was fighting against myself. From a personal point of view, I said no to everything. I just worked and studied. That's it. I had a dream, which was being a detective. And many colleagues said, don't do that. This is subject to nepotism. This is for detectives' children. Well, my father is not a detective. My father was a builder within the construction industry, and I got the position. It wasn't easy. The third year I failed. If I've ever faced this type of process, you know how hard it is. When you fail, you have to start all over again. So when I failed for the third time, I had lost hair, I was a bit bored, I had skin problems, and I remember sitting down in my room, age 35, 32. Well, I'm 32, I cannot be a detective, because I can't, because I'm not good enough for that. And it's true. Other people say that this is for detectives' children. Is it true? Maybe it's true. And at that point, when my mother came in, she said, well, perhaps this is not for you. Yes, it is for me. It's what I want to be. I want to be a detective. I want to cut the bad guys. I want to go back to the UIT. That was my dream. A few seconds later, I got up, I wrote some motivational quotes, and I realized that what makes us different is this. I'm giving a talk without shoes, barefoot. Why? Why should I wear shoes while I'm here? Because other people say that? What we should do is reach in places where other people don't reach. That should give us strength in order to know that we can do things. People instill limiting thoughts into our heads. We can do whatever we want. Well, I'm just checking. What do we need to do in order to be successful? In high school, they teach you that the formula in order to be successful has already been invented. Besides learning lots of things, studying, you need effort, vocation, and patience, because patience, as we say in Spanish, is the mother of every science. That's a key for success. You don't need to be more or less intelligent. If you're intelligent, you put some effort and you're patient, you can do whatever you want. I can assure you that. We don't have much time, but I'm going to give you some piece of advice. Perhaps because I've done some things in life which were difficult and I'm old enough. You have to look at opportunities. No one's give you anything for free. No one came from Planeta to tell me, write something. In 1 year, I published 150 papers in 1,000 blogs everywhere. I published every week. I didn't go out on the weekends. I just stay at home writing until you get your opportunity. You have to do something. You may be at home, you may be the best technical person in the world, but no one's going to look for you. No one's going to come looking for you. You need to look for your opportunities. You have to see yourself where you want to reach. I saw myself as an detective. I saw myself. You have to visualize where you want to be. It has to be in your mind. Your brain thinks in images. When we smell a perfume, we have a feeling. We remember something. When we go to the sea and we smell something, we go to Madrid, we smell pollution. Our success should be in images here. If you consider that tomorrow you're going to be the best hackers, you should see it here. It's in your power. Competitivity. Now everything is more complicated. Thanks to the internet, now we can have 4 languages, 18 degrees, masters. You may be indebted in order to train and to have a qualification. We're very competitive. You need to look for something that makes you different. If you know that cybersecurity is a very complex world, a very wide world, you cannot be the best at everything. I have to say I have my technical limitations, mental limitations too, but technical. And someone asked me, well, everyone knows about you in Spain, so talk about this. Well, if I'm not good at that, I'm not going to do it. You need to look for something that makes you different. Why? Because if you're different in that, you can do that. Otherwise, you will be just someone else. Go for what you want and don't let other people's limiting thoughts to block you. You have to keep going. I haven't tweeted that I'm here at Cybercamp, talking at Cybercamp. Sometimes people brag about things in social media and their real lives are really sad. I'm here thanks to social media. I'm not here thanks to any detective that said, oh, she's pretty, she's intelligent, she speaks very well. I'm here thanks to the social media. I published every day. Every day I worked hard and I published my work. My colleagues' work too, but my work. Use social media with strategy, because social media will take you to places such as myself. If I just depended on my bosses, my superiors, I would have never been here, because they want to make my success as theirs. Don't be demoralized about the cool life other people have. Don't believe social media. You have to believe in your own capabilities. You cannot generate high expectations. So step by step, you win a league by getting points, 3 points after 3 points, and each match matters. Don't generate too high expectations. You may think that what you do every day doesn't add, but yes, today's talk is important, yesterday's talk was important, everything matters. There will always be someone who wishes you no good. It doesn't matter how good you are, how good your principles are, someone will be jealous, envy, someone will wish us bad things, because people are jealous and mediocre, so we shouldn't wait for people to tap us on our shoulders. Sometimes yes, and we're thankful for that, but it has to be within us. You cannot think, okay, I do good things, I do everything I did for everything. Why do people treat me like this? Because there will be people that wish you no good, because otherwise we'll all be here. Here are people we adore, and people that has no effect on us should hear. Acknowledgements are very good. Awards, taps on our shoulder, our back. It's nice when they give you a big round of applause and thinking, I'm so good. But you learn from your mistakes. And my last mistake, big mistake, happened 3 weeks ago. It was a stab on my back, professional stab. It's okay. I learn from my mistakes. I'm not going to sit down and think, oh, people are so evil. But you learn from your mistakes. Acknowledgements are okay to know that you're in the right way, but that's it. That's it. Choose your principles. Choose who you want around you. If you're surrounded by mediocre people, you'll be mediocre. If you surround yourself by brilliant people, you'll have that. Mediocre people will never allow you to be there. People who allow you to be there will be people who actually want you to be there. So choose your principles. Do you want to work for money? Well, don't complain if you get treated badly. If people over you are making your lives impossible, you sold yourself for money. If you want to do what you like, you will probably do fine. We'll need money for things in life. I left the police. I had a good salary to be an entrepreneur. Perhaps I trust myself and my possibilities. What about cases of success? Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg. Don't use them as a reference. You have to be happy in your daily life. If you want to be here, you come up first, second, third at CTF. That's already a success. Forget about Amazon, AliExpress, or Facebook. That's what people want to sell to us. Cheap philosophy. How many people reach that? One among how many people that are really poor? We're all at cases of success. If you hear because you want to be doing what you want, that's success. Being here on the stage to speak about this, that's a success for me. I don't need to be Mark Zuckerberg or having a few beers with my best friends. That's a success. Great projects are made of people. Big projects are based on people, what people offer. If she can't offer something, he would do. People make projects grow. We don't need bosses, we need leaders, and big projects are made of people. That's why the 99% of companies that are created fail. Because they don't have money? No, because people do not create a group. Big projects are made of people. Everything you provide adds things, adds value. Surround you with talent and motivation. People who like what they do. Because if you're surrounded by negative things, there will be contagion. And you have negative people around you, well, isolate yourself. Think about your path. Be surrounded by talent and motivation. That's doing what you like. And be with people who's like you, and you'll be fine. It's great to read motivational books, but your motivation comes from here. You need to believe in this that I'm telling you, because it's useful. My father was in the building industry. My mother was a housewife, and I made it. When you reach here, you'll be by yourselves. The more you grow, the lonelier you be. When people don't know you, people tell you, you're great. But when you go up, you're by yourself, because people become envious and jealous. Why? Because you did things right. So motivation comes from here, not from there. And the difficult thing is not being successful, is to maintain the success. I'm not afraid about being successful. I'm afraid that the expectations I generate have to be kept. When people introduce me, the audience expects me to keep a certain level of quality. So once you've reached what you wanted, you have to keep on working hard. You have to maintain that situation. And last but not least, be humble and never stop learning. You learn from people who have just come to the company. Everything has something to offer. If I'm here, it's not because I'm more intelligent. I'm older, perhaps I was more lucky, I did things better, but never stop learning. Even the youngest person has something to show you, to teach you. And then don't be afraid of change. Change is always positive. What can I say? I've quit my position as an employee to become an entrepreneur. It's okay, you always have to try something new. So I'd like to encourage you to use your talent to follow this advice, and I'm sure that you'll do fine if you follow this. Thank you very much.